Welcome to our flagpole prayer service, our first in over 13 months. Our scripture passage for the remainder of the Easter season is one of the resurrection appearances from John's Gospel, chapter 21, verses 4 through 12. Early in the morning, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples did not realize that it was Jesus. He called out to them, "Friends, haven't you caught any fish?" "No," they answered. He said, "Throw your net on the right side of the boat and you will find some." When they did, they were unable to haul the net in because of the large number of fish. Then the disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, "It is the Lord." As soon as Simon Peter heard him say, "It is the Lord," he wrapped his outer garment around him and jumped into the water. The other disciples followed in the boat, towing the net full of fish, for they were not far from shore, about 100 yards. When they landed, they saw a fire of burning coals there with fish on it and some bread. Jesus said to them, "Bring some of the fish you have just caught." So Simon Peter climbed back into the boat and dragged the net ashore. It was full of large fish, 153. But even with so many, the net was not torn. Jesus said to them, "Come and have breakfast." None of the disciples dared ask him, "Who are you?" They knew it was the Lord. Welcome back to prayer at the flagpole. And if you're new, welcome to your first prayer at the flagpole. What a joy it is to gather in a time of prayer with all of you after a 13-month hiatus. For the last 6 Fridays of the school year, we'll make a point to gather together safely for prayer, reflection, and fellowship. More on that part later. I don't know about you, but I've been missing this. If you're new to flagpole prayer, we normally gather on Wednesdays, but since those are flex days now, we figured Friday would be best. I get to offer a reflection today, but after today, you'll get to hear from some of our seniors. The theme of their reflections will be based on the call to prayer song that we just heard called "These Are the Words I Would Say" by the Sidewalk Prophets. Inspired by some of Jesus' final words as he met his friends on the beach for breakfast, we'll be sharing some final words of hope and encouragement to one another as we wind down a long and challenging school year. If we could return to the scripture passage for just a minute, I'd like to point out that Jesus' first words to his disciples on that morning came in the form of a question. "Friends, haven't you caught any fish?" His question reminds me of Dr. Phil's famous question, "And how's that working out for you?" Jesus knows they haven't caught any fish, and he's prepared to offer them a course correction. He's not trying to shame them, he's trying to help them. Perhaps when he suggested they cast their nets on the other side of the boat, they grumbled under their breath. After all, they were professional fishermen, and he was a carpenter. Who was he to give them fishing advice? But of course, Jesus' gentle nudge to try it his way overcomes their stubborn pride, and bam, they hit the mother lode, 153 large fish. Someone much wiser than me once said, Jesus didn't call fishermen to be disciples and then convert them to engineers. He called fishermen and taught them how to fish for people. In this post-resurrection story, Jesus invites his disciples to make one small adjustment. And that makes all the difference. And then he invites them to breakfast. And all is right in their world. Things feel normal again. The fact that Peter, James, John, and several of the other disciples had gone back to fishing suggests that they had returned to their old lives after Jesus died. Maybe they figured, you know what, we had a good run, but now that's over. Their lives were turned upside down in a few short weeks, and they had a choice to make. Continue the mission or call it quits. Like those lives of the first disciples, our community, our nation, and our world has also been rocked by this pandemic. As we return to campus and settle into a new normal, what choices will we make? Will we slide back into old habits, like rushing from class to class without stopping to say hello to our peers or colleagues? Like stressing out over tests and grades and deadlines? Or will we choose to heed Jesus' words of advice and make an adjustment? Try it his way. Walk a little slower, breathe a little deeper, listen a little more carefully. Notice those on the fringes and find ways to include them. What a wonderful last 6 weeks of the school year it could be if we made those commitments. A little while ago, I mentioned a fellowship component of these flagpole prayer gatherings. Well, one of my commitments for the next 6 weeks is to feed you on Friday mornings. I can't promise a fish fry like Jesus hosted, but we will have some individually wrapped donuts, aka bread, and goldfish to enjoy when we're done here. I know some of you have to hustle to advisory or other commitments, but if you aren't rushing off anywhere, I'd encourage you to grab a table with 1 or 2 other folks and enjoy some extra sugary breakfast treats and rich conversation. As we close our time of prayer, are there any intentions that you'd like to lift up this morning?